This has not been a very good Christmas. Now we come to yet another Christmas remake. This time it's 2012's Silent Night, which is a remake of the 1984 classic Silent Night, Deadly Night. One of my favorite slasher films, my favorite Christmas horror film. I love Silent Night, Deadly Night. This, I do not. And I would actually compare this to the 2006 Black Christmas remake. Why? Because it's almost a remake in name only. I mean, there's very little that actually makes it a remake, makes it relevant to the original. It sort of looks similar as far as how it's filmed and the cinematography. But I would honestly say 2006 Black Christmas is miles better than this, both as a film and as a remake. I first saw this when it came out. I did see this back in 2012. In fact, I saw it the week it came out. I redboxed it because I followed this movie. Because like I said in my review for this film, I've been a fan of this since I was 11 or 12 years old. I've always loved this. I first found out about this remake probably around 2009, 2010. I remember reading about it online. And in fact, when I first read about it, and this was on Wikipedia, so take with it what you will. Don't know how true it is now, how true it is back then. But it said that the director at the time was supposed to be Alexander Aja, director of the Hills Have Eyes remake and High Tension. But Hills Have Eyes remake, I love. It's in my top 3 favorite remakes. It's a very well done movie. In fact, the first 2 acts is very much the original film, done better. The whole 3rd act is badass and great. So I thought, if he can take what he did to Hills Have Eyes, the exact same film, but, you know, updated and more intense, with great music, great kills, lots of intensity, we could have the Hills Have Eyes modern version of this. Because I think Alexander Aja is a talented filmmaker. Not everything he's done has been great, but he's talented. When this finally came to fruition, we went from Alexander Aja down to Stephen C. Miller. Yeah, Stephen C. Miller directed this. If you remember, back when I did my zombie movie marathon, I have a whole playlist of zombie movies. I did a low-budget film called Automaton Transfusion, which Stephen C. Miller directed. And I ranted to high heaven about that movie, because that movie is a piece of shit. This movie isn't much better. In fact, a lot of the major problems I had with that film has carried over to this. Like, his excessive use, I don't know why he loves using it so much, the fucking shaky cam. When people are getting killed and the camera's going like this, it's distracting, you can't see what's going on, and it's not fun for anybody. In fact, one of my favorite kills in this, which is one of the first kills in the film, it is horrendous shaky cam. And the actress who's getting killed does a terrible job at it. And yes, it is the little 12, 13-year-old brat. And anyway, okay, this movie stars Malcolm McDowell in an over-the-top role. I mean, his role as the sheriff in this makes, you know, his Rob Zombie roles look tame and well done. Jamie King, who is in the My Bloody Valentine remake, she does all right, but there's not a lot to work with. Donald Logue, who I'm a big fan of, Harvey Bullock in Gotham, that one King in season 2 of Vikings. I like Donald Logue as a kid, stuff I saw of him back then. I like Donald Logue. but he is over the top in this. Ellen Wong, there's not much to her, and Brandon Fair, not much to him either. Everyone else is just kind of there. And okay, this was written, executive producers, okay. 14 executive producers. Wouldn't you say that's a little much? Okay, music by Kevin Ripple, whoever that is. Edited by Seth Flom. Okay, well the editing's pretty horrible too. Trying to find screenplay, Jason Rothwell. I don't know what else that guy has done, but even though the Black Christmas remake has very little to do with Black Christmas, I mean, it's a sorority house full of sorority girls, killer named Billy, Christmas Eve. Even though the original is Christmas season, but Christmas Eve. This has even less to do with Silent Night, Deadly Night. In fact, you can count on one hand and probably have fingers left over all the similarities. Okay, crazy grandpa who thinks Santa Claus punishes people. The girl impaled on deer antlers. The fact that the killer Santa is because he witnessed his parents, or at least his dad, being murdered. 3 things. That's pretty much it. If I missed anything, it is subtle. And it's not even like a linear thing where almost everything is connected like in this film. You know, like the crazy grandpa is related to this character over here. And, you know, very minor, extremely minor and poorly executed. The film opens up with this killer Santa who wears a translucent mask, but from here down, he has glued the Santa beard. And yes, he does go around with the flamethrower, but that's much later in the film. For the most part, he's going around killing people who are naughty. But he doesn't go around saying naughty like in the original film. In fact, he has one line, and that is, not nice. And that's way later. We see this one guy down in a basement. He's tortured, sort of hostile style. He's electrocuted. But when he's actually going around killing people, I mean, well, first we're introduced, you know, Jamie King is a police officer. Malcolm McDowell is the sheriff. Ellen Wong is like the dispatch or secretary. Brandon Fair is a deputy. Jamie King's dad is a retired police officer, but he's a good guy. And Malcolm McDowell, he's like a guy who thinks he's badass, and he tries to deliver these like Gil Grissom, CSI kind of cool lines, but he just sounds corny as shit. Like there's one talking about like, you don't want to get avocado on the burger, whatever that means. There's one where he's talking about like a snake in the grass and catching its prey, but he's so over the top, it's like, no, the snake always catches his prey. And he gets all like into it with his face, and it's just... Donald Logue is like this neighborhood Santa who, you know, he's telling the kids how life really is, and he's supposed to be like this deep guy that knows everything about life and how shitty it is. He's kind of the town asshole. But anyway, so we see all of them. We randomly see this 12, 13-year-old girl who is very abusive to her mother. I mean, the scene opens up with the mother's hand shaking, trying to get pills. The daughter smacks the pills out of her hand. Like, you need to take me to the mall. And it says something about church. She's like, fuck church and fuck Santa. Does it look like I believe in Santa? It's like, get your purse, meet me in the car. You can tell the mom just can't do anything. because she waited too late. This Santa's at the door, and this is my favorite kill because it's the person that deserves it. Yeah, I'll say it. She's a young kid. She fucking deserves it. He gets out this cattle prod, and as he's cattle prodding her, the camera's going like this. Yeah, I mean, she's not doing much. She's just kind of shaking and doing it badly. And then he takes out like a fire poker and stabs her off screen. And then there's certain people he's giving little presents of coal to. But there's all other random people. Like there's this hotel where people are doing like this sort of porno shoot. He comes in, kills everyone. But this one lady gets out through a window. Yeah, I mean, she completely topless, but she's trying to crawl all around, and it's cold out. And he cuts a leg off with a scythe, and then he picks her up and puts her in a wood chipper. Which would be cool if there wasn't fucking shaky cam. And of course, we see more blood back spray on him than out of the wood chipper. And of course, the Santa goes after like the mayor and Jamie King's dad. Donald Logue is the red herring. And you find out the mayor and Jamie King's dad all got the present of coal. And it all just leads up to when the revelation at the end. They were all involved with killing this killer's dad, who was also a killer Santa. I would say the third act looks good. I mean, it takes place in the police station. And, you know, you get scenes where, like, the sprinklers going, but there's all the red lights and then the green lights. So, like Black Christmas, you know, lights and colors do look decent. That's the only bit of intensity that's kind of built up in this film, and even then, it's not much. And Jamie King goes after this one random guy dressed as Santa, who we don't see a thing about him throughout the whole film, unless I missed something. I guess it's alluded to that she lost her husband, and she's afraid to shoot people. She shoots this Santa, not the killer, the random one. And anyway, you know, it all just keeps building up. I guess you can say building up. And of course, you get this long, you know, pan out, sort of like at the end of The Collector. You see his mask and beard burning because Jamie King gets a hold of the flamethrower. And that's when we get the flashback. We see the killer, he survived, his face is severely burnt. And his dad went nuts for some reason, dressed up like Santa, had a flamethrower. He was shot by a cop who was Jamie King's dad. The shot hit the flamethrower tank and he burnt to death. The killer was a kid sitting in his dad's truck who watched the whole thing happen. And those three little things are supposed to be enough to be a remake of this. Which, granted, once you hit Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, it has almost nothing to do with this, and then 4 and 5 are completely their own movies. So, I mean, I guess this is more so in line than some of the sequels, but it's still a shitty-ass movie. Stephen C. Miller is just, I think he's a hack director. Things I've seen of him, it's all shaky cam and low budget. The performances are nothing. I would say Jamie King did the best, but she doesn't have much to work with. Malcolm McDowell, of course, is hamming it up. Even Donald Logue, who I really like, is just over the top. The kills, it feels like they're going for kills, but there's not much to them at all. A lot of times it's just aftermath, like Jamie King finds her dad. He's just disemboweled and his organs are everywhere. I mean, I would say at least he looks more like Santa, because in this movie, You know, Billy, he always has his beard pulled down to show his face. And, you know, I would say the only creepy thing about this movie is where he has that translucent mask, which has wide eyes cut out of it. You can see the killer's eyes, like, way underneath. So that's the only part that is at all creepy. Everything else is just shit. And this movie even has the balls to, on the back, say, in 1984, the slasher classic Silent Night, Deadly Night stunned audiences, was banned across America, remains the most notorious Christmas movie in history. Then it goes on to talk about this film. So yes, it's definitely a remake. But, I mean, they could have called this film, like the tagline on the back, "You better watch out." I know there's a number of movies called that. If this had been called something else, I probably could have, you know, given it a little bit of leeway. But the Silent Night, Deadly Night centric parts, like the crazy grandpa, literally verbatim lines. You know, Christmas Eve's the scariest damn night of the year. You see Santa Claus tonight, you better run, boy. You better run for your life. But unlike this grandpa, who has emotion, you can tell is crazy, he's saying it like he's still catatonic. You know, it's just like, Christmas Eve's the scariest damn night of the year. He gives a couple little chuckles, but he's saying it so dryly that it has no effect whatsoever. The girl on the deer antlers, miles better. Even on its own merit, it looked as good as a Tom Savini effect. Very well done in this. This looked like CGI, which there's another thing. Tons of shitty ass fucking CGI. If the deer antler scene is not CGI and is practical, then it is done like fucking shit. The most upsetting and disappointing effects in the whole film. It's the only death that is anything like the original film, the most memorable from the original film, and it looks like complete ass. It's completely fucking terrible. But anyway, that's all I got on this movie. I'm just going to start repeating myself. Silent Night, this is a piece of shit remake. It's a piece of shit movie. It literally is. I mean, it does look better than Automaton Transfusion. But Stephen C. Miller is such a fucking hack. And yes, this movie is so bad. It is making me say the 2006 Black Christmas is actually a good movie compared to this. It's actually a good remake compared to this. But that's all I got. 2012 remake, Silent Night. It fucking sucks. But anyway, thank you for watching.